I'm Susie Suff for HCTV. So much has happened this past year in Hawthorne, and if you think you've missed anything, join us now as we take you through a year in review. City News is next. Stay with us.
You're watching HCTV 22 City News, your source for news and information on issues, people, arts and entertainment, and sports in the city of Hawthorne.
Hi, and welcome to this edition of City News. I'm your new host, Linda Albarisi. After weeks of California's energy crisis, Hawthorne residents continue to live with the fear of skyrocketing power bills and now rolling blackouts. Still, the question is, how did we get to this point? And will there ever be an end to this energy nightmare? Our reporter Adrienne Hopper tries to answer those and other questions in her special report on California's fight for power.
Whether you're driving, at work, or just running errands, electricity is something that has become a basic necessity of life. And now it's also a product that's in high demand by privately owned utility companies such as Southern California Edison, that is by the day running out of funds to purchase a supply for millions of customers.
In the month of December, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, our average cost to buy electricity was about 30 cents a kilowatt hour. But we are allowed to only pass that through in rates 6.5 cents. So that's the spread.
The miscalculations all began with the passage of the deregulation bill in 1996. This bill was supposed to encourage more competition for the utilities and make electricity cheaper. But instead, it shifted the power, so to speak, to the electricity brokers.
Wholesalers are acting in what economists call conscious parallelism. I think they're manipulating the market, clearly. And I think there's pretty good empirical evidence of that. In fact, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission found that these prices were unjust and unreasonable.
Even Governor Davis declared that deregulation was a complete failure in his State of the State address.
California's deregulation scheme is a colossal and dangerous failure. It has not lowered consumer prices. It has not increased supply. In fact, it has resulted in skyrocketing prices, price gouging, and an unreliable supply of electricity. In short, an energy nightmare.
But should consumers be forced to pay for the short-sightedness of the advocates of deregulation? Edison says yes. Consumers say no.
I do believe re-regulation is the right approach to take. But at the end of the day, people who use products and services in our economy pay for them. That's the way the American system works.
That's the only place where you can get your electricity. You have no choice. It's either pay or get disconnected. And I think that is, I think it's unjust.
And while Southern California Edison continues their fight to undo the financial damages of deregulation, many consumers who originally felt that deregulation would lower their bills are now fearing the worst.
My gut feeling on the rising prices of power, I think is absurd. I mean, everything operates on power and electricity.
Corey Fields owns a local bakery in Hawthorne and is currently preparing for the big financial hit to his budget. His bill for last month is about $712, but after the rate increase of about 15%, it could shoot up to $819 for this month.
For a small business owner like me that has a family and kids to feed, 15% is a lot of money.
Now, in order to offset the raised prices of his power bill, he's forced to raise the prices of his products.
I have no choice but to raise their rates because the wholesaler is passing the increase on to them. I may in turn have to increase my price to make up for the difference.
But in addition to the rate increase, the possibility of blackouts can be just as debilitating for consumers, especially businesses that use a lot of electricity.
Possibly eliminating some of your electrical usage could eventually end up in loss of business. We have a lot of lights here, we have a lot of production going on in the back, so we have to obviously be seeing what we're doing. I have a lot of refrigeration in the back. My ovens are gas electric. All our mixers are electric.
And not only will residents and small businesses be affected, but larger operations could feel the strain as well.
And it's going to have quite a negative impact. We are being told by Edison that our rates will go anywhere up from 35 to 50%. That's quite significant when we're paying approximately $30,000 a month in Edison rates or Edison fees. We're exempt from the rolling blackouts. We also have a generator that goes on to all the critical components of the hospital. So there will be absolutely no safety or comfort concerns for our patients. It's more of a concern for the future of this hospital.
But according to Governor Davis, he says he'll do his best to protect the interests of the people. His short and long-term plan is to ask lawmakers to spend $1 billion to stabilize electricity prices. In addition, he wants to restructure the state energy boards and the process of buying wholesale electricity. He also called for statewide authority to buy and build new power plants, and for Californians to conserve their power by 7%. Some ways that you can help conserve energy and lower your bill is by turning off your lights when you're not using them and by keeping your thermostat down. It's a statewide problem with statewide ramifications and a crisis that in time will expose the value of the true power of the state.
Ever wish you could see what it's like to be a cop for a day? Well, teenagers from all over the South Bay are getting a chance to see what it takes to protect and serve every Saturday for the next 2 months. It's all part of the Law Enforcement Explorer program. And as you'll see, it's not just a class, it's an adventure.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So you want to work in law enforcement, but do you have what it takes?
You can't do push-ups? Is that what you said? You can't do push-ups?
I mean, it's hard to take orders from my own mom, and then to come here and, take orders from perfect strangers. It's a difference.
Well, if you're between the ages of 14 and 18, the Explorer program offered by the South Bay Regional Explorer Academy is the best way to find out.
Once they develop that teamwork and realize that they're not doing it alone, they're not individuals, they'll be all right.
Demeanor, respect, uniform appearance. They're going to learn how to talk to the community, how to deal with situations under stress, whether on ride-alongs, how to use radios, the radio codes.
Teenagers from all over the South Bay file in, make an about-face, and are marching forward toward a new destiny in life.
I've always wanted to, do something in law enforcement.
The police officer, the best thing you can do in the law, because you could always provide your city and help them, your community.
Before entering the Explorer program 6 years ago, Carolina Guzman says she was timid, insecure, and an average student. But this program changed her life for the better.
After this academy, my grades went up. They went all the way up. I was probably doing like a C average. I went to an A. They taught us not to say, I can't do it, I can't do it. They taught us, I can do it, and from there on, you just see life so differently.
Overall, the Explorer program does more than teach teens about a career in law enforcement.
On your feet.
It teaches them about character, integrity, and the power of teamwork.
If you have the self-esteem, you can work better with other people and you can exceed farther in life.
If we do it as an individual, we will all fall apart and do our own thing. And as a group, we're all together, we help each other out.
For more information about how you can join the Explorer program, call the Post Advisor, Susie Martin, at 310-970-7147. This is Adrienne Hopper reporting for HCTV.
Forward. March. Yeah.
You drive by and dine in these restaurants all the time, but do you ever really know what lures you into these retro hotspots? It's called Googie Architecture, and this next story will have you going gaga over Googie.
Recognize this former Hawthorne landmark? Well, not only was the Hawthorne Grill featured in the box office smash hit Pulp Fiction, it was also one of the few remaining structures left of classic Googie architecture. All over the country, these attention-grabbing buildings are rapidly being torn down and replaced by more modern establishments. And today, one of the last standing Googie buildings in Hawthorne is the restaurant Chips.
You can see large windows wrapped around, usually 3 sides of the building. And in a way, if you look at it at night, it almost looks like the whole top of the building is hovering over the bottom part of the building. And if you look here at Chips, there's this zigzag pattern across the front. These coffee shops would also incorporate indoor planters, but there's also things like the flagcrete behind me here. And this flagcrete it's actually concrete that was poured into randomized rock-shaped forms.
This style of architecture took off in the 1950s and 60s and was created with the intent of luring in customers who were a part of the new California car culture.
The car culture was becoming very important. People were spending a lot more time on the road in the 50s, and people would go to a restaurant and they wouldn't necessarily know what they were getting. There's a certain wariness. People were used to eating at home more. And coming to a Googie coffee shop, most of them had what was called exhibition cooking. You could see back into the kitchen very easily, and you could see the cooks preparing your food.
It was considered cutting edge, with its extreme design and what one would expect to see when the space age meets the Stone Age.
You get this sense of the space age kind of future. It's a Jetsons look. It looks like someplace where the Jetsons would have dinner. But at the same time, you'll also find there's a little of the Flintstones thrown in. People don't appreciate the style now because it's not quite old enough to be considered historic by most. But all of these will be gone by the time people do realize that they're historic.
So the next time you walk into a Googie building and become overwhelmed with nostalgia, enjoy it while it lasts, because the next one you see might only be a set on a movie screen. This is Adrienne Hopper reporting for HCTV.
It's the chance of a lifetime performing for the President of the United States. And for the first time ever, several members of Hawthorne's high school band got a personal invitation to march their way into history during this year's presidential inauguration.
I feel psyched out. I mean, I'm rehearsing every lunchtime.
Just days before venturing to the nation's capital for the President's inaugural parade, these Hawthorne High School students look ahead to their trip, each with different ideas of what's in store for them when they get there.
It's cold. It's very cold. I can't move my fingers. Okay. And hopefully I don't crack a nose.
I get to be with Republicans. I like Republicans. I'll just be concentrating, I think, picturing what I'm about to do, what I'm going to play.
It's an opportunity of a lifetime, but this opportunity isn't just by chance. These small-town musicians are invited to the big city by a very influential person.
All the other groups are actually having to audition to be in the parade. Our kids have been personally invited by the Vice President to be there, that's the exciting part.
Once they arrived in D.C., they marched as members of the Troopers Drum and Bugle Corps based in Casper, Wyoming. And playing with these all-stars takes more than just knowing a few scales.
Drum corps is a lot of hard work and a lot of discipline. When they tell you to drop, automatically you drop. You don't ask questions. You just do it. If you make a mistake, you drop on your own honor because you know you made a mistake and you want to get it right.
My philosophy is that you have to have discipline to basically be successful at anything. The discipline to get up every morning, to show up and do the job.
But although the work is hard and the hours are long, the payoff is sweet and memorable.
I think it'll be like something I'll look back upon and be like, I was part of that. And like, I can tell my kids I was part of that.
Like, most people don't even get a chance to do that. And, well, I'm going to get a chance to do that. So, that's cool.
It's like you're making history.
This is Adrienne Hopper reporting for HCTV.
Graffiti is a crime that can scar the image of a city and diminish the value of personal property. And while it takes only seconds to spray paint a wall, it can take hours to clean it off. In our next story, you'll meet workers on the front lines of Hawthorne's battle with graffiti and find out what we all can do to help.
They call it a victimless crime, but in reality, we're all victims of this unsightly mess.
It's discouraging because, you know, it takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours to do a block wall this size, and it's hard work.
It's depressing when you go back to the same buildings, same addresses, same streets.
Not only does it make your neighborhood look bad, but it also costs a lot of money to repair.
We spend about $6,000 every 5 to 6 weeks on paint. We buy our sandblasting silica sand. We buy a pellet of about 40 sacks, and that's about $150, and that's about every 6 weeks also.
There's a couple hundred kids out from a different tagging crew, and they're having a competition right now in Hawthorne that they're seeing who can put up the most graffiti.
Even though graffiti is on the rise in Hawthorne, the city is fighting back with programs such as the Graffiti Removal Program.
I have pride in the city of Hawthorne working here, and I'll do my best to keep it up. looking good.
If you see anyone tagging on private or personal property, contact your local police department at